It's kind of insane.
I love that.
The Wizards did not go well. We got the Celtics yesterday, and the Celtics were so easy. We won a championship year one, and then you have to trade all your best players literally after year one because you can't afford their cap.
Yep. Yeah, I did a Charlotte Hornets one the other day and had like the first 2 overall picks in like the 2024 draft and ended up winning the 2023 title. So I had like 2 80 overall rookies and the championship team.
See, we consistently don't get good draft picks, but our best draft pick so far, we get Eamon Thompson and we got Eamon Thompson, and then we get Jet Howard. Jet Howard is a straight 2K lord. He's an absolute 3-ball god.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the 2K rebuilds. Oh, also for predictions, does that have to be a score prediction?
No, I really didn't. That was just kind of like me just being very vague once again.
Then I'm switching around the order when I'm saying something. Okay, there we go.
All right, you guys ready to go?
I am.
All righty. Well, welcome back. It is SMC show number 18. We're getting close to that 2-decade mark. Very close. We have a lot to talk about. Well, we have a lot to talk about with a little bit of topics. We are going to go over the Super Bowl. We're going to go over the Super Bowl preview. That is on Sunday. So we're, of course, all ready to watch the Super Bowl. And then also we had a crazy day in NBA trade deadlines. The last 3 days have been nothing short of insane. But we have a lot to talk about today. We're actually going to set our playoff predictions post this ridiculous trade deadline. So a lot of teams got better. Some teams got worse. Some teams stayed the same, but some teams maybe have dropped out of the conversation or are putting themselves into the rebuild mode. So, but we're ready to go. I'm here with the Chan man, Rishi, and I got Dallas here as well. And we're going to talk about the Super Bowl. The first thing I want to talk about is what to watch for each team, like aspect wise. This can be a player group, coaching personnel, formation personnel. I mean, whatever you guys think, you want to watch out for in this kind of a game. What is it? One of you can lead off. I'm definitely not prepared for this, but we can do it.
I can start. I think one part of the game that everyone's concerned about or everyone's talking about is who's going to win the trenches. And I think the matchup that people talk about more often when they talk about that is how this Eagles O-line is going to hold up against the Chiefs D-line. And so I wanted to touch on maybe the other side of that. And I wanted to talk about how I'm curious to see how the Chiefs O-line does against the Eagles D-line. If I had to guess, I would guess that the Chiefs O-line is going to do all right against the Eagles D-line, and then it's not going to be a walloping like we saw against the 49ers. I thought the Chiefs did an all right job in the Bengals game of keeping Patrick Mahomes safe while he was on that bum ankle, and I guess I'll leave it at that.
For me, it's this injured group of Chiefs wide receivers. So for me, it's the Chiefs wide receivers or who's going to be put out there against the Eagles' great corners and Bradbury and Slay and Maddox in the slot. And then you got the safeties coming down, Gardner Johnson, they can play man. I think it's going to be very interesting to see who gets open. I think they can double team Kelsey pretty easily in this game and try to make others beat them, which we don't even know who's going to be out there every snap and healthy. So I think this is a part of the game to watch out for when the Chiefs get in situations where they have to throw the ball.
I'm actually just going to go overall. The Philadelphia Eagles defense. I'm just going to name to you all what you're going to see in this game, just from a name perspective, because a lot of people haven't watched the Eagles that closely this season. Defensively, you have Fletcher Cox, Javon Hargrave, Milton Williams, Martin Tuipulotu. Linval Joseph was a pickup. I believe they also grabbed Ndamukong Suh, Hassan Reddick, Robert Quinn, Nakobe Dean, I feel like I'm missing some people, and this thing is definitely missing some people as well. Oh yeah, Josh Sweat, Brandon Graham. So they have technically speaking, the Eagles this season have run 2 sets of edge rushers. So Josh Sweat and Hassan Reddick have been their starting edge defenders, but then they also have the ability to bring in Robert Quinn, and then who else comes off the other edge, Alex? You should know this. Who else is coming off the other edge? Hassan Reddick. Oh, and Robert Quinn is coming off the other edge, and someone else. I'm sorry, I'm so spacey right now about this. It's gonna make me mad too. But then I think you look at their second level, they have a really good linebacking core in Kaiser White and Nakobe Dean. 2 guys that have improved throughout the year, as well as TJ Edwards. He's taken a 94% of their defensive snaps. So they're going to be an interesting team to look at. And then you get, like Dallas said, you get into their secondary, probably arguably one of the best secondaries in the NFL this year, with Avonte Maddox, James Bradbury, who's probably the signing cornerback of the year, Darius Slay, you have Josiah Scott, you have Kevon Wallace, you have Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, who I thought was going to be the big piece for this team, and Reed Blankenship. This is just a really good team that is really going to force a lot of, like Dallas said, and like Rishi said, they're going to force a lot on the defensive line. They're going to force on a lot the wide receivers. I think they're going to force a lot to Patrick Mahomes. I think they're going to put him in situations he hasn't really been in throughout this year. He's been lucky. He hasn't played the most physical pass rushes all season, but I think this is a game where you see the Eagles come out. They're going to press. They're going to get 5 guys in the box most times. They're going to be aggressive. They're not going to step away. The guy I was thinking of was Brandon Graham. That's who it was.
Didn't you say him?
So yeah, here's how it works. So it's Josh Sweat and Hassan Reddick are on the first line of edge defenders. And then the second line is Brandon Graham and Robert Quinn. So you technically, if you're a Chiefs offensive tackle, you're seeing 4 different, you can see a combination of 4 different guys on any set down. So I think that's going to be interesting. I think it allows them to be a little bit healthier and allows them to get after the quarterback, with really good and really consistent rotation. All 4 of those guys are really good edge defenders. So I'm just saying, if you're looking at something to watch in the first 2 quarters of this game, what are those the Chiefs offensive tackles going to do? Are they going to have to go into 2 tight end personnel to, chip blocks? And is Travis Kelce not going to be able to get off the line because they're too afraid to, run routes like that, because you then give up an edge defender? So I think for this game, I think the Eagles defense is something everyone should be circling in their game bingo card, because I think that's all the announcers are going to talk about is what this defense does and how they provide pressure to a really good Chiefs offensive team. I know the next question says pick a unit and highlight what they provide in this game. So I didn't imagine we were going to do this, but pick a unit. It can be like Dallas said, the wide receivers unit, the secondary, offensive line, quarterbacks, running back rooms. Where are you all circling, or what unit are you circling, and why do you think that unit is going to be so important in this game?
Well, I guess I'm curious to hear your guys' opinion on this. This is something I was thinking about as you were talking about the depth of the Eagles defense. So obviously the Chiefs were able to put together a last-minute drive in the AFC Championship game. It was helped by a few Bengals penalties, but do you think that because the Eagles have so much depth on that defense, that's going to be a problem for the Chiefs later in the game when their O-linemen start to get tired? Maybe the Eagles aren't as tired as the Bengals were defensively. I don't know what your guys' thoughts are on that.
So it's a good point. I could very well see it. I mean, the depth is crazy on the Eagles defense. So I think that could be a big factor, especially towards the end. For sure. I think
it allows them to take a lot of the focal point off of what I thought the focal point was when you looked at that Bengals game versus the Chiefs. The Bengals unfortunately got focused on the secondary level, or on the secondary and then the tertiary level. So your second level being your linebackers. Your linebackers were forced to do a lot. They're forced to get around the field. And then their secondary, so technically their corners and their safeties were then forced to do a lot with a very limited with a limited defensive line rotation. I mean, you have so many players, but the Eagles here, like I've been saying, they've built this team from the ground up. There's a reason why they're one of the highest paid teams in almost every department. They have really good players, but they also have like really good stash players. Like, I think you look at this game and you talk about someone like Kaiser White and a TJ Edwards who have been on this team over the years. They're really good players. They're going to be crucial, but they're not getting paid a lot. And I think that's the important part is, they have depth, but they also don't they're not like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers from years ago where they had to pay so much money to their defense to have that depth. This is a naturally built defensive depth team. And I think, like Rishi said, you're probably going to see it wreak havoc in the third, the fourth. I think the whole game, there's going to be havoc coming from this defense. And it's going to be Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes trying to figure out how they can contain that and, have that lightning in a bottle that they've had every year, it seems like. Dallas, would you like to pick your unit?
My unit's the Chiefs wide receivers. I gotta see somebody get open against this Eagles secondary for Mahomes, and I really don't know who it'll be. And I'll just say this might be down hot takes later, something along the lines of the Chiefs wide receivers.
Oh my God, I know who's gonna come up in this conversation. I already know who it is. So I'm gonna look the other way here. I'm going to look at the Eagles wide receiving core. I'm not going to really hold it to just the Eagles wide receiving core because I also want to look at their tight end room. So I'm just going to go to their pass catcher room. They're a very interesting team. Give me a second. I'm trying to look up who the Chiefs are going to match up with in the secondary real quick. So if you just give me 1 second. Snap counts. All right. So, we all know who number one is in this room, guys. It has been the AJ Brown season. He is tearing apart the NFL. Devontae Smith's also in here, but then I think you look past that. I think there's a couple options that people have not realized and have not seen this season. Quez Watkins, a very speedy, very quick wide receiver. You want to look at him in a game like this. You're getting your secondary or your slot man on you. So you're looking at possibly getting, I don't know what Rashad Fenton's health is for this game. Does anyone know by any chance?
I don't.
I do not know either. But you have you have young corners. I think that's the thing. You look at Jalen Watson, Brian Cook, Trent McDuffie. They're all first, second, or third year players. So, this might be their first time being in that Super Bowl. You have Rashad Fenton and L'Jarius Sneed. L'Jarius Sneed's undoubtedly your best corner, but then now you're relying on your safeties. So your Justin Reeds, your Bushes, your Juan Thornhills to possibly come down and have to change the coverages just to get on this Eagles wide receiving unit. And then you haven't even got to the craziest part, which I think is tight end, where you look at Dallas Goedert, Jack Stoll, and Grant Calcaterra. Jack Stoll and Grant Calcaterra played really good when they lost Dallas Goedert for 6 to 8 weeks of the season. So I think it's important to see what happens. There's a lot of things that will happen for this team, but I think the Eagles pass catching unit is going to truly jump above them. Rashad Fenton is no longer a Kansas City Chief. Thanks, Rishi. I'm looking at Pro Football.
Say it out loud.
I'm looking at Pro Football Reference, man. I'm looking at Pro Football Reference, and they suck. So sorry.
I forgot he got traded too, but that's his status for the game. He will likely be on the couch like the rest of them.
And now, Rishi, who are you highlighting? Which unit are you highlighting in this game?
We can just move on. I was talking about the depth of the Eagles defense earlier as kind of my unit or whatever. So I just copied you basically.
All right. I thought I do have to preface this here on the SMC show. We do not we're not gambling experts. We are in no way, shape, or form telling you to go bet money on any kind of this game. If you do have any losses, unfortunately, the club will not reimburse you, as I am now saying with this basically NDA saying that if you take our betting advice and you lose money, that's on you. You've made the conscious decision to bet. It is not on us. You can come back to me next week and cry about it, but I'm sorry, guys. I'm just going to give you what I think is going to happen and what I've known from these Super Bowl takes. So that's what I had to say about the betting part. So just had to get it out of the way. But Rishi,
they've
since
seen our
you're
hot take records.
huh?
They've seen our hot take records.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
they
know to take everything with a grain of salt. But Rishi, you are technically our gambling leader in this on this show. Not many of me and Dallas, unfortunately, are not allowed to bet due to some guidelines and some policies. So Rishi, take it away. Tell us what you got here.
So you want me to say the one that we kind of that you have as your opinion, but then I might have accidentally stole subconsciously?
Yeah. Give it to us. Let's hear it.
So I've got three player props. Preface this by saying I'm not actually putting any money on any of these. The only thing I'll put money on is the winner of the game. But I've got a few where I think the odds are interesting. We've got the NFL leader in playoff rushing. Currently, the standings are Christian McCaffrey with 238 yards, Kenneth Gainwell with 160 yards, trailing by about 80 yards, Miles Sanders with 132 yards, and Isaiah Pacheco with 121 yards. So I'm saying that maybe the smart bet in terms of odds here is to take Kenneth Gainwell to lead the playoffs in rushing at plus 1,600. I think as the leading guy out of all the people that are active in this game, especially with his burst of quickness, I think that that bet at plus 1,600 is really good value. He'd basically have to have 80 yards and outrush Miles Sanders and Isaiah Pacheco. The second of the three is Patrick Mahomes, Super Bowl MVP at plus 130. I think if the Chiefs win, the storyline of him coming back from injury will be too much to give the MVP to anyone else on the Chiefs. Obviously, it's possible, but I see that as he's the lead guy if the Chiefs win. And then finally, I thought this was a fun one. Over 2.5 players to have a pass attempt at plus 140. If Patrick Mahomes has to come out for a play and the Chiefs decide to throw a pass with Chad Henne, you can get that at plus odds. And you never know. It's always the Super Bowl, so you may see a trick player too. And I think those are all interesting odds.
Good odds. Dallas, you got any player props you're feeling? Any guys to watch out for?
I have no idea what the odds are, but me and Rishi told Rishi this at the meeting. Anytime touchdown scorer, Jerick McKinnon. I don't know what the odds for this are, but lock it in. I believe Jerick McKinnon will score a touchdown in the Super Bowl, whether it's rushing or receiving. Like maybe Rishi said, maybe even throwing. So you never know. Never know.
So he's plus 185 for a touchdown.
Rishi, I need to vet mine real quick. Like I said, when we talked about the wide receiving core, I think this game's going to have a lot of focal point onto the big three. So, of course, Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, and Dallas Goedert. So I think you go with the Eagles second and the third and the fourth option in the wide receiving core. I'm going to go Quez Watkins anytime touchdown. And I'm going to go with an Zach Pascal anytime touchdown as well.
All right, I'll get you the odds. So Quez Watkins all the way at plus 750. And Zach Pascal is all the way at plus 220. Is that who you said, Zach Pascal?
Yeah, Zach Pascal.
Yeah, those are some long shots that I think are
Hey, I think you look at it. I mean, you're probably going to get L'Jarius Sneed on. You'll probably end up getting L'Jarius Sneed on either Devontae Smith or AJ Brown throughout the game. Trent McDuffie will probably be switching in between. Then you're going down to a safety or a third option corner. So, I mean, those two guys would be two good guys. They're both speedy. They're both quick. They've both shown a lot this season for the team. They're always good for a good touchdown too.
And no Rashad Fenton.
No Rashad Fenton, because I'm literally looking at their snap counts and I'm like, oh, Rashad Fenton's still in the building. Why don't you unregister him from your team, please?
Rishi, what are the odds on a Sky Moore? I'd like to see a Sky Moore here.
Dude, it had to be a punt return.
Plus 750, same odds as Quez Watkins. Not a bad bet either.
That's not bad at all. The wide receiving room is hurt. Sky Moore was used quite a bit in this Bengals game last week when those receivers went down. I think that is an interesting prop right there.
They've had a couple weeks to get some Sky Moore plays in the playbook. So very interesting. Gamble response.
I was waiting for the Justin Ross off the practice squad touchdown call.
Yeah, I don't even know what the odds would be there. I know
plus a milli. He's got to be plus a milli. I don't even think he's off the practice. They probably don't even have him registered.
Yeah, he's not in the system.
He's probably on like a pup list or something.
PFF still has him at Clemson, so.
All righty. Well, now we're down to the nitty-gritty predictions. I'm not going to force you to say a score. Matthew did already put his in. He has the Eagles winning by 3 in a 28-25, so a very close game, very tight game. Dallas or Rishi, if you're ready to open this one up, let's hear it. Rishi says his is on the sheet is keeping it a surprise. So
I'll let Rishi go last if he wants to keep it a surprise for a little longer. I think
that's fine with me.
I think the Eagles win this game as well. We can't back away from our picks, man. We've been with this since
we've been riding them since week
one.
We wrote them before week 1.
Before week 1, we've been on the Eagles. I cannot go back now. Give me the Eagles. I saw a little fun thing on Twitter that said people wrote the script for the Super Bowl. It said Eagles 37-34. Why not go with that score right there? And if that happens, that'd be insane.
All right. I'm going with the Eagles here, but this is also my hot take. I'm just going to lay this out now. I was thinking about this one for the past couple days. I have the Eagles dominating in the first half. I think the Eagles only give up a field goal in the first half. But
that's got to be
the game. Take. I think the game gets very close. I think the game gets close in the second. They might allow up some stuff. You never know what happens. It's Patrick Mahomes. They're going to dig into that playbook. They're going to pull out some classic plays. I do think the Eagles win, and I think they win by a touchdown. So I'm going 42-30. I'm going 42-31. I think that field goal is going to hamper them, and I feel like the Chiefs might not be up to it against the Eagles, guys. I'm just saying. I think there's a lot of things that have to go right, and I feel like for the Eagles, not a lot of things have to go right. So
I won't give my actual prediction just yet. What I'll say is I forgot that up to this point I haven't even said who I think is going to win the Super Bowl. So I'll say I've been on the Eagles. I've liked them for a lot of this season. Clearly not as early as you guys, but I'm going to take the Chiefs to win. I'm done betting against Patrick Mahomes in games where it just feels like he's being set up, at least in his own head or in their own locker room, as the underdog. When they're the team that has been to the AFC Championship game the past 5 seasons, they're the current dynasty, if you want to call it that, in the NFL. So I'm taking Patrick Mahomes to get the win, and by proxy, that means the Chiefs will win. And for score, I'll go 24-21. But the real prediction, this is the prediction I actually feel more confident about more than anything else I've said for the game. So we all know halftime show Rihanna, right? My bold prediction, my strong prediction is during the song Umbrella, we're going to get some live simulated rain in the arena, in the desert. I don't know how they're going to do that. Water shortages in Arizona all the time, but we're going to have a live simulated rain during Umbrella in the halftime show from Rihanna.
Look, officially, we've stopped talking about sports, and we're just going to talk about Rihanna for the rest of the show.
You kept it vague, just predictions. That was my prediction.
All right. Well, that better be your hot take too. That better be in the fold. But, great predictions, guys. We got a lot to watch. I think it's going to be a really fun Super Bowl to watch. Even if you're not like a sports person or a Super Bowl person, please watch the game. It's going to be good. I mean, you can always just watch for Rishi to see if the Rihanna has simulated rain, Crazier things have happened, guys. Crazier things have happened. But on to everyone's favorite segment, my favorite segment, and your favorite segment at home. Last week, the boys got absolutely annihilated by Do You Know Ball. And it was bad. Dallas, tell Rishi how bad it was. Oh, Rishi watched. So he watched the annihilation. This week, I had to go back with the Super Bowl historic performances. It had to happen. I did not name it on here on my questions. It is crazy performances. So it is any Super Bowl. There's no time frame. I did not do any Super Bowl futures takes, like who wins the Super Bowl MVP this year, because that's a stupid question. But the first question is, in Super Bowl number one, this Green Bay Packers wide receiver came off the bench with a hangover to put up 138 yards on 7 receptions and 2 touchdowns with the initials MM.
Listen here.
What year was this?
This was Super Bowl one.
But does anyone know roughly what year that was?
I'm
probably back like almost 60 years ago.
Oh, wait one second. 1967, gentlemen. 1967. Played in the historic Memorial Coliseum.
Just trying to think of a 1960s type of name.
I tried to look up a little bit of stats earlier, and the name Max pops into my head there, but I don't remember the last name of the guy. It's very, very annoying that I literally saw the name. I literally saw that. I know this answer. I saw it.
Oh,
I literally saw it. I just don't know the last name. I forget what it was.
The first name is right. I'm going to give you the first name.
We're going to have to do some inception here. We're going to have to get inside Dallas's brain to figure out what the answer is. Max Mooney, Max Muncy. Is that a baseball player?
Yeah, that's a baseball player.
It's not like a normal last name, I don't think.
Is it a Mick or like a Mick something?
No, I don't think so.
The fact that you looked this up, you suck so much.
He knows the quiz master.
Does know ball. Well, I literally wrote the questions in front of him yesterday, but was hiding my computer so he couldn't see.
I didn't see any of them. I promise you. I just literally typed. I knew there's Super Bowl, so I literally before the show, I literally went Super Bowl performances. I saw this one. You literally
probably read the list. Then you read the list I went off of.
There was 50 names on there. I don't even know what performances are on there. He was like at the top, so I literally read that one and got off of it.
Max Maroney. What about that?
That doesn't even sound that bad, honestly.
I don't know. I in my book, Dallas gets the points for knowing Max, but
I don't know the last name.
I'm giving you half a point for getting half the name. You get half a point, guys. It is Max McGee.
Oh, that is a 1960s
answer.
Type of name.
All righty. We skipped 10 years ahead. We are in Super Bowl number 11. In Super Bowl 11, this legendary wide receiver with a trophy named after him in college football caught 3 of 4 touchdowns for a Raiders win to the Super Bowl. Who am I?
Is that like Chuck Bednarik or something like that?
No. Isn't
Bolitnikoff.
Yeah.
I don't know his first name.
We will give you the last name. It is Fred Bolitnikoff. Yeah.
Only reason I know that is Jordan Addison last year when he transferred. Everyone was like, "How could the Bolitnikoff winner transfer?" Otherwise, I would not have known that.
I thought that one was easy. You guys got that one. Good job, guys. You guys are 1.5 right now out of 2. That is a good start after last week. This one is more recent, and we skip ahead now 37 Super Bowls to Super Bowl 48. This Seahawks linebacker had an interception. He took 69 yards for a touchdown. He also had a fumble recovery and 9 tackles in this game. Who am I?
You got the Dallas as the linebacker, right?
So I'm trying to think if this was the Super Bowl the Seahawks won. And
Yes, they did win this
if
one.
it is, then this linebacker won Super Bowl MVP as well. And
His name is John Cena. Go ahead, because I forgot the name. I can picture him.
I think it's I'm not 100% certain on this, but I think it's KJ Wright.
No, it's not KJ Wright. It's who were like their main guy? Like who was the guy that how can I forget this dude?
KJ Wright, Bruce Irvin.
Keep listing names because I'll remember when I hear it. Like I think it's like maybe a double letter in the last name or something. And it is a double letter in the last name after I saw Alex's face right there.
No, I'm not trying to give any reactions. I need to cover my face.
Okay, we can say KJ, right? I don't care. Isn't it?
Incorrect. It is the legend himself, Malcolm Smith.
Dang it.
Oh, okay, never mind. I wasn't gonna get that right.
I couldn't think of the other linebacker it was.
Irrelevant Lord Malcolm Smith. A roommate of mine would be proud of this one. He's not currently here, but he is here. In Super Bowl 43, this Steelers wide receiver had 9 receptions for 131 yards, but more importantly, he kept his toes in bounds to score the game-winning score. Who am I?
Rishi, you know it?
Man, I wish I did.
It's Santonio Holmes.
Oh, there we go.
That is the correct answer. I was really hoping I'd get you on that one. But Dallas probably knows him all too well.
If you didn't say like the feet in bounds at the end, I would have been having a little bit more guesses. Like Hines Ward came to mind, and
yeah, I was thinking of some older players.
Rishi, if you don't get this question, you're officially banned off the show.
Oh no.
In Super Bowl 31, this Green Bay Packers legend is the only special teams player to be named Super Bowl MVP. This was due to his total punt and kick return yards of 244 yards with a 99-yard kick return to win the game. Who am I? Also,
I'm specifically supposed to know this?
He is also a legend of a certain university a state that you may live in.
Oh God, it's Desmond Howard, is it?
That is correct, Desmond Howard.
All right. I wouldn't have known that if you didn't give me the University of Michigan part.
I felt that I had it in the question, but I didn't want to give it away immediately. I wanted to think if you were going to think about a Michigan State player, but you didn't. I appreciate
How many
that.
of those are still kicking around? Kirk Cousins?
The legend. All right, so we got a 3.5 out of 5 this week. That wasn't bad, guys. I was happy. The Bletnikoff one, I kind of knew that I probably shouldn't have thrown. I should have just said trophy in his name. That could have helped. But the Santonio Holmes one, I thought everyone might remember it, but that was kind of what Super Bowl we on? Like 53 or 54?
We should know this, but
yeah, it might be like Super Bowl 56.
It is 57.
Yeah, so like 14 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
We're
old.
Wow.
That we're old. I was 6 years old now. But alrighty, we do have a lot to talk about in this department. I know the NFL was kind of quick and kind of simple this week, but only with 2 teams playing, you can only talk about so much stuff. But the NBA had an absolute explosion over the past 3 days, shaking up, looked like both divisions and shaking up a lot of these teams and possibly making them contenders or pretenders or fakes or frauds or whatever you want to call them. But we are going to set our NBA playoffs. I was supposed to do this 2 weeks ago so that when the trade deadline ended, we would do it again and then we could compare it. And I did not do it. So, of course, we're going to start out. Do you guys want to start out with the East or the West? I feel like that's
Let's do the East.
Okay. The East, I felt like got shaken up quite a bit. I'm going to pull up the NBA deadline transactions. I will say a lot of things moved out of the East and did not move back into the East. That was the only thing.
Yeah,
We're on
that's I
that.
think that's
That
gonna
is
be.
going.
Go ahead.
So I'm gonna just recap all the trades from the East real quick. First off, we did have the Nets making their mass cleaning of house. Kyrie Irving moved or was that last week?
Yeah,
Okay.
this week.
So we had Kyrie Irving moving. Then we had Josh Hart going to the Knicks in return for Cam Reddish, Svi Mihailuk, Ryan Arcidiacono, and a first-round pick lottery protected. Jakob Podol headed to the Spurs in a trade that sent Kem Birch and 2 first-round and a 2024 first-round pick and 2 second-round picks to the Spurs. The crazy trade that everyone was paying attention to at 1 a.m. in the morning. I wasn't even awake. I woke up to it. The Suns got Kevin Durant and TJ Warren, while the Nets made a haul that it seems like is going to be a good future for them. Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, Jay Crowder, in which they flipped for 5 second-round picks, 4 unprotected first-round picks in 2023, 2025, 2027, 2029, plus a pick swap in 2028. The Celtics got Mike Muscala in return. In return, the Thunder got Justin Jackson and 2 second-round picks. An interdivision trade, one of the only ones we saw, which got the Bucks Jay Crowder. The Nets got 2 second-round picks, and the Pacers get George Hill, Serge Ibaka, Jordan Nwora, and 3 second-round picks. The 76ers got Jalen McDaniels, while Matisse Thybulle was sent to the Blazers, and Svi Mihailuk was sent down to the Hornets. Well, I'm getting there, guys. It's taking a second. The Hawks got Sadiq Bey in a trade that sent James Wiseman to the Pistons, Gary Payton to the Warriors, while the Blazers got 5 second-round picks. That's a Western Conference. The Hawks got more players. The Hawks got Garrison Matthews and Bruno Fernandez, and the Rockets got Justin Holiday, Frank Kaminsky, and 2 second-round picks. I'm trying to see if any of these teams are left in the East. The rest of the trades are Western trades. So after all that and what we've said, I'm just going to go through the current 1 through 10 standings. We are only doing the 1 through 10 standings, so everyone who makes the playoffs. Currently, Boston sits at the 1, Milwaukee sits at the 2, the 76ers sit at the 3 spot, the Cleveland Cavaliers sit at the 4, the Brooklyn Nets, the stellar Brooklyn Nets sit at the 5, the Heat sit at 6, and then the play-in games, the Knicks sit at 7, the Hawks sit at 8, the Bulls sit at 9, and the Raptors sit at 10. So we're going to start off with, do we want to start top to bottom or bottom to top?
Let's do, I don't know. Do you think it was a harder decision for you guys to pick the top teams or the teams that are?
I had a harder time picking the play-in games. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah.
Okay, then yeah, we can start bottom to top.
By the way, we're doing it how we usually do it, so we do have to agree on the position. I think the number one, I think number one's very easy. I feel like the Celtics are the easy number 1 pick. Dallas and Rishi, I believe, would also agree with this. I think 1 through 3 is very easy to nail down. I think once we get to 4, we're going to struggle. But Rishi's going to be back in just one moment. He had to step away. So Dallas, number 1 is the Celtics, I believe.
Yeah, I think actually first 4 seeds will probably be, I won't say exactly how they are right now, but I think that's what we can project right now. I think the Cavaliers stay in the 4 seed. I think you see, we'll talk about Brooklyn and will they slide and so forth. I don't think they overtake anybody else. I think Cleveland's good enough to stay up in the top 4. So I have the Celtics at 1. I think they're the best team in the NBA right now. That they added more depth in a bench big that shoots 39% from 3 in Mike Muscala. I know the Milwaukee Bucks added Jay Crowder, which is a very good piece. So I think it's going to be a tough, tight race. The Bucks are currently on a 9-game win streak. A few more games heading into the All-Star break this coming week. So I have the Celtics at 1.
Rishi, do you agree, or do you think the Bucks jump them with the Jay Crowder trade?
I really agree on the whole part about the top 4 teams in the East really solidifying themselves as their own group. I've been on the Celtics, but I'm gonna actually flip to the Bucks taking that number one seed. I think it's probably a combination of Jaylen Brown being out for a little bit with the facial fracture, and then I'm not sure exactly when Chris Middleton is getting back, but that team's been banged up, and so to be able to win almost 70% of your games with how banged up they were with Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday, I think that in the second half of this season we'll see them probably take over the number one seed.
I'm looking at their standings. Milwaukee has struggled on the road so far this season. As of their record right now, they're sitting at 15-12 on the road and 7-4 in the division. So I think it's just tough to say. I think the Celtics are just, hate saying I think they're a step ahead of them, but I think they're just a little bit ahead of the Bucks right now. And I just think that it's going to be close, but I feel like when the Celtics get fully healthy and the Bucks get fully healthy, I'm going to be looking at the Celtics to continue the run that they started the season with. So I think the Celtics are one. I think the Bucks are second. I think we could say they could flip or interchange at any possible moment of the season. I feel like it's going to come down to possibly the last week to decide the one seed. The third, so if we're doing Celtics at 1, the Bucks are at 2. The third and the fourth seed, I feel like, are also a good interchangeable flip conversation. The 76ers in Cleveland, did the 76ers attain some? They got someone, right?
They got Jalen McDaniels.
They got Jalen McDaniels. I know I said.
I don't think that puts them anywhere better than where they are at. Me personally, I think they actually lose a guy like Matisse Thybulle, who's very good on the defensive end. McDaniel doesn't provide exactly what he does. Maybe McDaniel provides a little bit more scoring, but I don't think that's what Philadelphia necessarily needs, especially with Harden and Embiid dominating the ball like they do, and they have Maxey that can score the ball as well. So adding another scorer, I don't think makes too much sense for this team. But yeah, I think them and Cleveland are pretty similar teams, and I think they could be very close to each other. I'm just going to keep the standings how they are now, but interchangeable again, in my opinion.
I'm going to just write interchangeable next to them. Like I said, Cleveland couldn't really do much. They have no picks that they had no tradable picks. They had no really tradable players. So, they're just kind of going to sit where they're at. But now we get down to the 5 seed. So I'm just going to recap the top 4. We had the Bucks, the 76ers, and Cleveland in our top 4. And now we're on to the 5 seed. Currently sitting the 5 seed are the Brooklyn Nets. Does someone jump the Nets with their trade moves? I think this is the question: are the Nets still a 5 seed, or is someone better than them now after the trades?
Did you guys? So I feel like a lot of people would be eager to push the Nets way down their standings after those 2 big trades, and I think that there's an argument for that, definitely. I only had them moving down 1 seed because I think that there are a lot of guys in that locker room like Cam Thomas, where when you give them an expanded role, they seem to adjust well. And they got some good pieces back in their trades for KD and Kyrie. It wasn't just draft picks. So I've got them currently projected as the 6th seed.
I'm actually going to keep them at the 5. I would like to make the argument that I think this team got more efficient based on like player standpoint. Now you're looking at a starting 5 of a really good starting 5. You have Cam Thomas, who you kept and retained, someone who was very frustrated and now is playing at a high level. You got back a core piece that you had years before in Spencer Dinwiddie, someone who's been with the organization. You then get Mikal Bridges, possibly one of the best players as of recently to be a role player on their team. He was great with the Suns. I think he'll just improve. You have Dorian Finney-Smith, who you get from the Dallas Mavericks, a great player, a crucial piece of their run last year. And then you keep Nick Claxton, who's possibly in the conversation for DPOY. I can't say that I would think this team I think this team sits in the 5 to 6 range, but I'm looking at the other teams that are below them, and I think those teams are just still a notch below the Nets. And I think the Nets are going to play really good basketball. They're going to have really good chemistry through the rest of the season. and they're just going to be a solid team. So I think the 5 seed, I feel like, is probably their ceiling, and I feel like the 7 seed is probably their floor.
For me, I have them dropping probably. I want to say they drop to the play-ins and then the 7 seed, just because of it is a new roster and these guys are new to playing with each other. And I think these few games before the All-Star break, if they lose these, it could be a learning experience for them. But when you look at the roster, yes, you can go down the list of solid players, but Cam Thompson he's not going to give you 40 every night for you to win. And heck, he's been giving you 40 and you're not winning. So I think they drop down. I think the Heat just have a little bit too, like Jimmy Butler, Bam, Tyler Hero. They have established guys that they're going to push in the second half of the season. So I have the Heat overtaking the Nets. And then I could very well see the Knicks overtaking Brooklyn as well. Only 3.5 games behind now. But I think the Knicks are a very interesting team. Getting Josh Hart was an interesting move, I think, but they didn't play Cam Reddish. I think Josh Hart helps them more than people think because of his defense and rebounding. That's a Tom Thibodeau player right there, Josh Hart. So I have Brooklyn sliding down to 7 with the Heat moving up to 5 and the Knicks moving up to 6.
Another team I'm curious to ask you guys about, did Toronto crack either of your top 10s? Because they were a team that a lot of people thought might blow it up at the break. But then they went and got Jakob Poeltl, who's one of the league's best centers. And so they're a team with still a lot of talent on their roster. But does anyone think they can make the jump into the playoffs?
I think they stay around the.
I think the 9 is their ceiling.
I was going to say the 8 or 9. I could see
the 11 is their floor.
I think they at least get in the playing game for sure.
I think the 9's. I think the 9's fair for them.
I agree with you guys that like they do probably have a pretty limited ceiling, but I don't even have them in the play-in. I think them not being able to shoot threes all year is something that's going to be a problem. And you remember the Lakers, obviously they've acquired some shooters, but when they weren't able to make three-pointers, they weren't able to win many games. And so I think that'll keep them out of the playoffs.
I would love to say that I think that's in the same conversation as them, but I just don't see someone jumping them. No offense. I thought the Pacers got better. I think they added some key pieces. They got veterans. They did the right thing. I just think they're just below the curve right now. I just think that you put the Toronto Raptors up against them on paper, the Raptors are going to win, probably. Tyrese Halliburton's great. You've seen struggles, though, from the bench players and the depth pieces that we all thought were going to explode and expand. They got players. I like George Hill, don't get me wrong, but I felt like, you already have a very crowded guard room. You have a very crowded guard room of scorers that are high-end talent. I mean, you have Tyrese Halliburton, TJ McConnell, Chris Duarte, who has really hot stretches where he can be really good. You have Aaron Nesmith, or you have not Nesmith, you have Andrew Nembhard, and now you've added a 5th guard to that room. I mean, I get it, but you can't split up those minutes. Someone's going to be unhappy. Someone's not going to play. Someone's going to hurt the chemistry. I feel like if you're the Pacers and you're currently looking out, you're looking from the outside of this, why not just stay on the outside of this? I mean, it'd be great to make the playoffs. It'd be great to do that. But a lot of these teams who are supposed to be getting worse and blowing up are going to stay above you. So keep continuing to move down. You still have your picks for next. You have 3 picks for next year. Why are you not going to try and leverage those picks? I mean, that's my problem with it. I mean, you're outside looking in. You're a good team, but I feel like the Raptors might just be better. I feel like the Raptors, some of those players have now gotten that, that that relief off their back that they were going to be traded like OG Anunoby, so some of those guys are going to want to prove their worth. And I think, like Dallas said, for the Nets, they're going to have to prove a lot before the All-Star. They're going to have to work to be better before the All-Star break, but I think they could just explode and be better after the All-Star break.
For me, I just look at since they're the play-in now. I hate the play-in, by the way. Don't get me started on that. 9 and 10 do not deserve to make the playoffs, be a chance to make the playoffs. But when you look at the 5 teams below the line right now in the Eastern Conference, I really don't see how any of them are good enough to make the postseason. They're just not. So that's where I think you look at the first 10 teams. That's probably going to be the order of the teams as well. And the play-in could shake different because the Bulls and Raptors and Hawks are pretty similar right now. I think those teams can move, but I don't see Washington, Indiana, Orlando, and obviously Charlotte and Detroit probably get eliminated from postseason contention. I'd say within the first 2 or 3 weeks post All-Star break, they probably get eliminated. So I don't see those teams making the postseason.
Let me make the case for a couple of these teams. Like, I think teams like the Wizards and Pacers, if they can stay healthy, I think they can win enough games to the point where if a team like Chicago or a team like Toronto isn't able to put together a lot of wins, I think they both have some big flaws. I think Chicago plays pretty slow. They're not going to get Lonzo Ball back. So that could be a season where they start stacking up some losses in the second half of the season. And then the Raptors, how I was saying, I don't know that they're going to be able to just miraculously start shooting threes. So I would say the Wizards and Pacers definitely still have a chance to make the play-in. Play-in may be their ceiling at this point. But I also wouldn't rule out the Magic, even though I don't think anyone's picking them to make the play-in.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I honestly would give a better case to the Magic. I felt like the Magic have kind of found a little bit of a footing as of recently. They got key players back. I mean, looking at their last 10, the Pacers are 2-8 in their last 10. The Wizards are 7-3. The Magic are 6-4. So now you're looking at teams that, might be a little bit banged up here and there, but then they gain a player after the All-Star break, or they get a little bit of continuity to get to practice after the All-Star break and get together. I'd probably put the Magic over them because I just think they're young. I think Paulo's been improving. I love the Pacers, but I just think, for me, I feel like if you're looking at the Pacers organization right now and you're saying, they've struggled from the 3, the 4, and the 5 to score off the bench. You get what we got. I mean, we didn't really address a lot of the problems of the team. Like, they tried to address them. They did their best. And I feel like we're just going to be average. I don't think we're going to get better, but I don't think we're going to get worse. I just think we're going to be average. And I think you're looking at these other teams, they have more superstar players that are probably going to help them and catapult them to get in. So I'm personally putting the Hawks at 8. I think the Hawks got better with Sadiq Bey. They got Sadiq Bey, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So the Hawks got Sadiq Bey. I mean, the Pistons are out. They got James Wiseman. Great. They're just building for the future still. The Hawks also got Garrison Matthews and Bruno Fernando, whatever people take for that. I mean, I don't really think
they're not going to play.
It doesn't really change.
It was a cap move for Atlanta.
So, I mean, the Hawks are going to continue to be a little bit better. I mean, hopefully John Collins can figure out whatever's going on. Well, I think, honestly, we can't really predict the 9 and 10 right now. I would love to just write, like, anyone 9 through 13 could be in right now, because it really will just depend on if someone gets on a hot streak and someone continues to go crazy after the All-Star game. Great. That team's probably going to get in. But I think it's tough. I think the Bulls or the Raptors are going to make it in. One of them is going to have to step it up. I have more confidence in the Raptors than I do in the Bulls. I think Zach LaVine's terrible, and I think he's probably trying to get out right now. And he was begging to get out yesterday or 2 days ago, and he couldn't get out. So I'm personally going to say I think the Raptors jumped to 9. And I think the Wizards probably somehow Bradley Beal and Kristaps Porzingis, and they all just somehow come together at the last minute and they just pull this team up and put them in the 10 seed.
Yeah, before we get to the West, the only thing I have to say about the Magic and the reason why they won't get in is their team with they have a few veteran pieces on their team, but those couple guys were considered buyout candidates. I read today, so a guy like Terrence Ross, who gives you some good minutes off the bench, he could be bought out, and a couple contending teams would very much like him off their bench as well. So I think the buyout market is what's going to be interesting with the Magic, and that's why I actually do see them buying out somebody, and then just tanking, like get a young player more minutes, and that's not going to be like a winning formula just quite yet.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think the Mo Bamba move was a indicator of maybe where they're headed.
Yeah. So, but on to the West. The West was honestly shaken up the most, it felt like. I really thought the East, a lot of the big teams either maintained their status or got better. The West, a lot of the teams are trying to get better and step up above their role. Of course, we know Kyrie was headed to Dallas. Kevin Durant headed to the Suns, but at the Suns' cost of what they gave up, I'm hesitant, I would say. I think everyone is hesitant to say that they are better. John Wall and Danny Green were sent to the Rockets. The Grizzlies got Luke Kennard, great deal in my opinion. Eric Gordon went to the Clippers. Devontae Graham went to the Spurs. The Spurs are kind of whatever. Darius Baisley went to the Suns, while the Thunder got Dario Saric. I'm trying to find the rest of these trades that I'm missing. Oh, like we just said, Mo Bamba was sent to the Lakers. Patrick Beverley got sent to the Magic. Mason Plumlee was sent to the Clippers. So the Clippers got their big man. I'm trying to look for whatever other picks. Justin Holiday and Frank Kaminsky and 2 second rounders are sent to the bum Rockets, who are probably just going. An interesting move that I thought no one was really someone who really didn't seem like they were going to be on the market. The Clippers got Bones Highland, and in return, the Nuggets got 2 second round picks. Interesting. The Warriors got Gary Payton II once again, and the Blazers got 5 second round picks. The Blazers did get Matisse Thybulle, though, so I think that's an interesting trade for them. I'm trying to see any other. Thomas Bryant was sent to the Nuggets in return. The Lakers got Devon Reed and 3 second round picks. The Russell Westbrook trade did occur. We did see Russell Westbrook finally leave after a tumultuous few weeks, I would say, to say the least. The Jazz got Russell Westbrook, Damian Jones, Juan Tosco Anderson, and the 2027 first round pick, but it's protected 1 through 4. The Timberwolves got Mike Conley Jr., Nickeil Alexander-Walker, a 2024 second round pick, a 2025 second round pick, and a 2026 second round. And the Lakers got possibly what Rishi called it last week. He said Jay Vando's getting traded. They got D'Angelo Russell, Jared Vanderbilt, and Malik Beasley. And I'm trying to make sure Dwayne Dedman headed to the Spurs. Kessler Edwards got sent to the Kings. And of course, the Mavericks got Kyrie Irving and Markieff Morris. So this kind of shook up the West. I felt like it did, then shaking up the East more. The East were kind of sellers, while the West was kind of buyers. But who is the number 1 seed for you all now?
I think this is easy for me, and it's the Denver Nuggets. They're right now the best team in the Western Conference. 4-game lead over Memphis right now. Memphis is very good and can obviously give Denver a run, but I think Denver got better at the trade deadline as well. The Thomas Bryant trade is a very, very good trade for Denver. They were really struggling at the backup bigs. They'd like to go small. Zeke Naji play a little bit in there. Having an established backup center is going to be huge for this team, especially to spell Jokic, and they can even play on a court at the same time together. So Denver is my 1 seed, and Memphis is my 2 seed. I think they're 1 and 2. I think they have it locked up right now.
Yeah, I thought personally Luke Kennard was a great pickup. you've seen there's been a lot of like injuries and up and down with this team. And you get Luke Kennard for great shooting and kind of a good defensive presence to help this team. I think he's a good pickup for what you gave up. You didn't really give up much, or did they even really give anything up? Yeah. So, I mean, you got a guy that's good shooting and a defensive player. He's just going to help this team. He's going to continue to push this team. I think 1 and 2 felt like a lock. But now I think the conversation, unlike the East, is what does 3 through 10 shake up like with some of these trades? Currently sitting in third is the Sacramento Kings. Right below them, the Mavericks, the Clippers, the Suns, the Pelicans, the Timberwolves, the Warriors, and the Blazers. Can the Kings hold on with everything that happened in the past few days?
Well, first of all, I think this might have been the moment that shook up the Western Conference right here. that may have been the very moment that
It was
Dallas
a great
said,
moment.
we're gonna get Kyrie Irving, and Phoenix said we're gonna get, or really Matt Ishbia said we're gonna go get Kevin Durant. But in this, out of the teams that are currently in the 3 through 10 slot, I think the obvious pick for a team to make the biggest jump is the Suns after that Kevin Durant trade. And other than that, I have a lot of things staying pretty similar. I've got the Suns up to my 2 seed. But other than that, the biggest rise or fall for me was the Kings moving down from 3 to 5, because I have the Nuggets, Suns, Grizzlies, and Mavericks as my top 4 seeds.
I want to debate the Maverick. I want to debate the Suns, actually. I get that the Suns got Kevin Durant, but do you feel like they gave up what the core of this team was at a multitude of points throughout last season for a superstar, nonetheless? But is it too much to give up when you look at the playoffs? I mean, you gave up Cam Johnson, massive player for this team. Mikal Bridges, massive player for this team. Dario Saric, who contributed in his minutes, good enough stats to continue to play on the team. Did they give up too much in order to get that quote-unquote third piece for a team that struggled this year without having a star?
I think you could say they gave up too much in the long run. Kevin Durant right now is more valuable than Bridges and Cam Johnson. But like I said, right now, in a year and a half, 2 years' time, he won't be. But as of now, to have CP3, Booker back healthy, and Kevin Durant and DeAndre Ayton, I mean, this is going to be a very tough stop for the league. And the Phoenix Suns, they obviously gave up Cam Johnson as well, which is a little bit of shooting, but Durant is going to average close to 30 a game with this team. Booker might take a little bit of a hit, a few points a game, but I think he's willing to do that. And we've seen this before. When a team trades for a star, they get better right away, and they win right away. So I think as of this year is concerned, I do have Phoenix jumping up to at least the 4 seed in the Western Conference.
Well, and so really what's crazy is the difference between them and the 4 seed currently is only half a game. And to get all the way up to the 2 seed, they're only 4.5 games back. So really, like, I think with a team like Memphis, yeah, maybe in the playoffs when they're fully healthy and have Steven Adams, I'd pick them against the Suns. But in terms of the rest of this regular season, I think I'd take the Suns over everyone other than the Nuggets. Even though that might have been the biggest trade package anyone's ever given up for anyone.
Yeah, I'd love to say that I think the Suns are not the second best team, but I just think like 3 and 4 is where they're going to end up. I think you're going to see egos get in the way of what the game should be. I think you're going to see CP3, KD, Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton, all trying to get the ball all the time. So, I mean, I think it's going to be a learning curve. I think they're still going to be good. I want to say I think they are going to do better than the Mavericks. because I think when we talk about the Mavericks, I think the Mavericks are going to struggle in the same situation as well. So I think the Suns will be good. I'd love to say that I think they're going to be like the 2 seed, but I think the Grizzlies might just have a little bit better established rotation, established team chemistry. I mean, the Suns have completely shaken up their organization. They've completely, unraveled what this team was and what their dynamic was before. So I think, just to say that I think the Grizzlies have the continuity factor here. So I'd say the Suns for me are probably the third best team in the West. The 4 seed, did the other buyer of this trade deadline also win? Also a Nets trade. Are the Mavericks the number 4 seed still?
I think in the regular season, you got to take into account it's regular season play. So this has nothing to do. Postseason play is a lot different in the NBA than regular season play. And regular season play, getting by with Luka and Kyrie, giving you probably close to 60 a game is going to be enough to stay in the top 4 or 5 seed. When I look at the West, I think the Clippers even got better as well. I think they'll stay right around in that range as well. I think the top 6, I think me personally, I'll just say my top 6. I have Denver, Memphis, Phoenix, Dallas, Sacramento, and then the Clippers actually falling a spot. And that's just not due to them being bad. It's just due to the top 6 in the West being that good.
I've got the exact same 6.
Yeah, I agree. So I think we've now talked about the Mavs. I want to talk a little bit about the Kings. I don't think I've seen people say that Kings are going to fall out of the playoffs. Like, I've seen these crazy takes. Well, now they have to face all these players. No, the Kings are going to be okay. The Kings are going to be just fine. They're going to stay out of the play-in game probably. I just don't think some of these teams are going to continue to improve so much and make such drastic jumps and changes while the Kings still continue to win how they've won all season. So I think the Kings stay at the 5. I think they're the only team that probably didn't do anything ridiculous in the West to try and make the playoffs. I think they just kind of were content where they were, and they knew that we're probably not going to drop that far unless, we lose. You lose your biggest players for the season. You lose Domas and you lose De'Aaron Fox. I mean, so I think they're content where they are. Like Dallas said, I thought the Clippers did improve. I think Bones Highland is possibly a great asset for this team to have, an electric young player that comes off the bench. He's willing to do everything on the court. I will say I saw that there was some rumors that the Nuggets thought he was, in the nicest term to say, too young and too inexperienced to be a part of this team. But I think he fits in with the Clippers. I think he has 2 good role models to be above him in Paul George and Kawhi. What do you all think about the Clippers?
I think they might get Russell Westbrook. So they might be a pretty loaded team going into the playoffs this year. And yeah, to have Bones Highland as a guy that could give you 20 something on any given night is always great to have for a team like the Clippers, who if you get into those playoffs and your star players aren't having their best games, it's always good to have a guy. They have a lot of guys like Norman Powell, who is a great role player, 3-and-D player, but probably isn't your lead go-to scorer in an offensive set the way Bones Highland could be in some plays. So yeah, I think this is probably the best we felt about the Clippers in a while.
I completely agree. I think the Clippers are one of the most under talked about teams heading into the postseason, because once you get into that postseason, there's been one player in particular that I think not anybody has talked about this year, and because of the injuries and load management, and that's Kawhi Leonard, man. When he plays, guess what he's doing? Just casually dropping 25, 30 a game when he gets minutes. In the playoffs, he's not going to be sitting out every other game. I wouldn't think. He'd be back and playing. Maybe not, 30, 35 minutes a game, but he will give you probably 20 a game in the postseason as well as Paul George. And this team's going to be a very, very tough out in the playoffs.
Yeah. And now we have the 7 through the 10. I feel like there's a lot of debate in this 7 through 10, just like we had for the East, except all these teams probably improved instead of like they traded. So right now, as it sits, they have the Pelicans, the Timberwolves, the Warriors, and the Blazers. Who makes 7 through 10? We'll start with 7.
I'll just tell you who's gonna make those 4 teams. I have the Pelicans, Timberwolves, and Warriors, who I don't think the Timberwolves got better or worse. I think they'll stay the same. The Pelicans, it's all about getting Zion healthy and Ingram healthy. If they have them healthy for a good amount of time, they're going to make it in. And I have the Trailblazers sliding out. I think they got worse at the deadline. And as bad as I hate to say it, man, I got the Lakers jumping into at least the play-in. I think the Lakers did amazing at the deadline. They got enough pieces now. And if AD can stay, the question is always Anthony Davis, man. If he can stay healthy for the games, they will make at least a play-in. And that's not – and, of course, we got to talk about the defending champs. I mean, I trade away James Wiseman, who was not a good fit there. But I think we're not talking about Gary Payton enough and what he brought to that team last year. And Portland sending him back to Golden State. It's a huge loss for Portland and a massive gain for Golden State. So I think the defending champs will easily make it in.
Yeah, I don't think we talked too much about how many second picks were getting thrown around the NBA this trade deadline. That was pretty crazy.
I saw a meme on Twitter, and it was just like a picture of someone crying, and it just said NBA second-round picks over it.
And the fact that like James Wiseman's value is the same as Sadiq Bey's value, which is the same as Gary Payton II's value, which is the same as 5 second-round picks, which I don't know. If I had asked you the question of those 4's value before the trade deadline, I don't feel like we all would have said they were all equal value. But I have the same. The Pelicans, Warriors, and Timberwolves were the 3 teams I were the most confident in making the play-in. I do think the Lakers did the best job at the trade deadline. But if I had to like put money on who's the last team I think would make the play-in, I would actually say the Thunder. But them trading away Mike Muscala maybe indicates that they're not trying to make that push this year. So I'll say the Lakers, but watch out for the Thunder.
I have to ask the question. Do the Jazz still have a chance?
I think the Jazz got – I think they have a chance, but I think they got way worse at the deadline.
They definitely did. But at the same time, I mean, you're looking at between, let's just say, the 7th seed and the 12th seed right now, a 2-game difference. So they're still really in that same tier. They wouldn't have to win too many more games to still get into that play-in.
Yeah, they technically ESPN still has them having Russell Westbrook. Isn't he going to get bought out? I thought that was the rumor, was he was getting bought out.
Most likely, yes.
Is there any weird world where Russell Westbrook stays with the Jazz and helps the Jazz?
I don't even think he helps the Jazz. I don't think he fits the Jazz.
I assumed he was already bought out, so I haven't even thought about him in the Utah Jazz rotation. But yeah, I mean, he'd be taking minutes away from some guards that do a lot of their scoring already. So it would be an interesting fit with Utah.
Yeah. I don't know what to say. I think this is going to be like we're going to have like a whole sit down show very close to the playoffs where we're like, okay, these are our title contenders, and these are the guys that are going to make the title contenders' life very hard. Because I think there's going to be a lot of really good teams, but there's just going to be some teams that make the playoffs that just aren't good enough to win the playoffs. So, but that was a good talk. There was a lot to talk about in the NBA. I felt like we were kind of a week behind. I know we can only go as fast as the news moves, and we can only be on the news every Friday, but it was a good week for basketball. We'll talk about college basketball. I know it's kind of starting to wrap up. We'll get back to it. I promise. But we had to we kept a lighter and shorter show. But now we are on. I'm going to talk about last week's hot takes. I put a futures hot take in that is not hit yet, so I'm out of the play. I am going to repeat. Austin and Adam both had hot takes that do apply to this week. Adam had Super Bowl MVP as Travis Kelce, while he had the Chiefs also winning. Austin had the Chiefs wide receivers outplaying the Eagles wideout core. That is kind of a hot take. Dallas unfortunately did not hit on last week's take of Boise State beating San Diego State and IU beating Purdue. IU did beat Purdue, but Boise State let Dallas down. Rishi had a correct first. The legs on this were correct. Jay Vando gets traded. Of course, he did get traded. And then Eastern Michigan lost to Ball State in a stunning overtime game.
That was disappointing because if I never sent the text to you guys about, hey, by the way, check out this hot take I predicted is going into overtime, they probably would have won. So I jinxed it.
It's okay, Rishi. Rishi, you're only 1-12. I mean, you're looking for the first round pick next year. Dallas and I are very close. I'm 2.5-14. Dallas is 3-13. But for this week's hot takes, we also had Matthew contributing that Kyrie Irving will not be on the Mavericks next year.
And that is not a hot take. That's not. If he really wanted to make it a hot take, he would have said Kyrie signs a 4-year deal with Dallas. I think that's a hot take.
Yeah, that's definitely the hotter take. Yeah.
You guys said it. I didn't say anything, so But yeah. Oh shoot, I just screwed up. I was trying to copy and paste my hot take. I did give my hot take earlier in the show. Like I said, I think the Eagles only give up a field goal in the first half. I know I'm crazy. I'm probably really crazy. But then the Eagles do end up winning the game 42-31 in the second half. I think the Eagles probably end up scoring. For this to work in my mind, how I was thinking about it, the Eagles have to score 21 in the first half. And then the Chiefs have to score 4 touchdowns in the second, and the Eagles only put up 3. So the math is semi-sound, but we'll see how it goes. Rishi and Dallas, bring us home, gentlemen.
I've got 2 picks. This can't count towards the hot take record because they're not actually hot takes. But my 2 picks for the week are the Chiefs, and in the UFC main event, pound for pound number 1 guy versus pound for pound number 2 guy, I'm taking Islam Makhachev. But he's the favorite, so it won't count as a hot take. For my hot take, we're going to the Waste Management Phoenix Open.
Oh my God. I have to put a take in now. If we're gonna talk about the Waste Management, I'm putting a take in.
I'm picking 2 names. One of these 2 guys is gonna win. My boys from the Asian continent, Sungjae Im or Sahith Tigala. One of those 2 guys is gonna take it home in Phoenix.
I don't forget how to spell Sungjae Im's name.
All right, I'm looking at his name right now.
I'm getting there. Did you take Kim? No, you didn't take Tom Kim.
No.
Oh, there he is. Oh, I forgot that it's all one word. God. All right, that's a good take. I have to add in now. I'm also going to parlay my Waste Management open take, and I'm going off the board here. There's a few guys right now. I'm looking at the standings right now. I'm going to go Scott Stallings. And I'm going to also rock with, who else do I love? Who is just like, I'm going to go Scott Stallings and Max Homa. So, Dallas, bring us home.
All right. So, we're going to make this a little bit long this week. Obviously, I had earlier in the show, I said anytime touchdown, Jerick McKinnon. Put that in the hot takes. Anytime touchdown, Jerick McKinnon. And then I also have I have one more thing with that game. I was debating which way to go with this. I was either going to take the Chiefs wide receivers under 50 yards or over 150 yards because I think they could be anywhere in between there. So I think we're going to go real hot and say the Chiefs wide receivers, who I thought were the key of the game, gets over 150 receiving yards against this Eagles secondary in the Super Bowl.
Wow. So
we got some steamers cooking this week.
I'm not done here yet. I'm not done.
Was that strictly wide receivers?
Strictly wide receivers. So Kelsey does not count.
Okay.
Kelsey does not count.
That's a real man take right there. That is I'm putting it all on the line.
I also have, going to the women's college basketball side, I have Miami going into number 9 Duke this weekend and getting a W there. And then I'll put one future one in, and I believe that future one is on the men's side. North Carolina Tar Heels do not make the NCAA tournament.
Ooh, that's a good one.
He's been reading too much of that chain. You know what I'm talking about, Rishi?
No, I don't.
Oh my God, you have not read the tea that has been spilt about the North Carolina men's basketball team?
Oh, sounds like something that maybe can't be brought up on the show.
I don't think it's that bad, Dallas, right? It's just about
It's not that bad. It's not bad.
Supposedly, like, Caleb Love and Black have a problem about, like, a girlfriend or something.
Oh, some drama.
And then what's Armando Baycott's problem? Because they said Armando Baycott has a problem.
I didn't see that. I think it was Caleb Love and RJ Davis, actually. So I think it was RJ Davis had a girlfriend and Caleb Love hit her up, I think.
Oh, wow.
They started going. And this is the guard room here. We're really starting to wonder why these guards aren't playing good this year for North Carolina, because they played tremendous last year in the tournament. And you could really put this in to why they're not playing well right now.
Caleb Love, shooter on and off the court. Who would have thought?
Wait, I'm looking it up right now. I thought there was something else.
That's all I saw. I didn't.
No one's leaked it on any of the big stuff. Why is this on
this is
early?
This is SMC Show after hours.
Oh shoot! I can't read. Okay. Oh yeah. They had a post-game intervention after their last game on February 8th. They spent 40 minutes in the locker room at the LGVM Coliseum after losing to Wake Forest. Wow. All right. Well, we'll keep looking into that. Dallas and I'll read some sketchy websites takes about whatever's going on. But it was great to have you guys on. We'll be back next week to tell you about the amazing Super Bowl. Rishi, do you have something?
I'm thinking this tweet might have gotten deleted, but we've got a Caleb Love tweet 19 hours ago, laughing at the BS, crying, laughing emoji. We locked for this emoji, and then he tagged RJ Davis. So they're locked in. This is debunked via Twitter.
All right. We'll see how it goes. We'll check back in. But it was great to have you guys on. Like I always say, go watch some sports this week. You got a lot to watch. The Waste Management Open, great golf. Super Bowl, great football. You got some NBA right before the All-Star break, but we'll be back next week to talk about everything that happened in the Super Bowl, possibly give some NFL offseason hot takes. We could possibly have the return of some of our fabled alumni of the show, the creator of the show. They may be back next week. I don't know. You just have to check in to watch, but it was great